Welcome. For those who do not know me, I'm Mirka Arvala, and I'd like to thank everyone for joining us for another session at Blackstone LaunchPad Masterclass. At Blackstone, we are here to make entrepreneurship accessible to all students, and these workshops are just one way we do it. So, on today's episode of Masterclass, we'll be learning how to build your social media strategy from the ground up. Tonight, you will be inspired to bring your humanity front and center on social media so that you can effectively build relationships and grow your business. Julia will share the building blocks for a successful social media strategy, plus ideas for getting started today. Leading this class is Julia Jornsay-Silverberg. She is a UB alum, having received her MBA from UB, and is currently the relationship management strategist at Now Marketing Group, as well as the founder of Bravery Beats, a coaching consultancy that helps online entrepreneurs stand out. Please help me welcome Julia this evening.
We're going to talk all about how and why to be human on social media, because my core belief is that every single person has a bright light inside them. Every business and person has something unique that they can give the world and really showcase online. And so as your fellow student told you, I am Julia Jornsay-Silverberg, and I went to the University of Buffalo. I graduated with my master's in business administration and my bachelor's in 5 years. So I did UB's 3-2 program and graduated and started my career out at the Buffalo News in 2012. And it was at this time that I started really getting into Seth Godin. And I don't know if you guys know who Seth Godin is, but he is one of the most looked up to figures in the world of marketing. He's very well respected, and he has written over 18 books. He's a best-selling author. His books have been translated into more than 35 languages. And he writes about the post-industrial revolution, the way that ideas spread, marketing. He's a brilliant man. And I happened to meet him when I worked at the Buffalo News in about 2013, I think. And Seth has a daily blog. And I used to read that blog every single day. And we'll talk about why I really believe investing in yourself and learning every single day is so important to any career path you choose, but especially social media. And so I was reading Seth's blog every single day to learn. And he put out this blog post saying that he was hosting a workshop called Ruckus Makers, and you had to apply to get in. And I crossed my fingers and put my best effort into an application. And I was selected as one of 70 people out of over 5,000 applications to attend this exclusive weekend workshop with Seth Godin. And I learned so much from Seth during that weekend. He taught me so much, and he really got me thinking. And one of the questions he asked our Ruckus Makers class is, would they miss you if you were gone? And it really made me realize that if we want to be missed, we have to go deeper. And we have to be willing to be unique. And I started to think about the creators that I would miss if they stopped showing up. And it's people like Lisa Hayam and people like My Face Story, who are really open and honest about their journeys and their stories. And I thought how those were the creators that I would miss. And it made me realize that it's surface level content that generates surface level responses. So as an individual and as a brand, you have to be willing to go a little bit deeper. And that's why my whole thing is the anti-highlight reel. If you follow me on Instagram, which I will highly recommend you guys doing if you want to stay connected, I'm all about the anti-highlight reel. What that means for me is that I'm willing to show not just the pretty perfect moments online, but I'm willing to show the hard moments and talk about things that most people don't really like talking about on social media. And I've seen firsthand that this works. If you see here, I have a TikTok that has at this point over 920,000 views. And I now have about 2,200 followers. I've gotten a few more followers in the last few days since making these slides. And I've been able to grow an audience. And this huge TikTok that went viral was literally a video of me crying. Because the things that connect us are human experiences. And so often we think that we have to be this polished, perfect version of ourselves online, but that's not real and that's not relatable. And the businesses that are infusing more humanity and personality into their content, and the creators that are doing that, are the people that are really developing loyal communities. And my doing that has allowed me to work with brands and get paid to do so. Brands like Go Macro send me free product every single month. and I get paid by Canyon Bakehouse, which is my favorite bread brand because I have celiac and I have to eat gluten-free. And I have loved this brand for years. And over the last year, we've developed a relationship where now they pay me to create content on behalf of their brand. And so just a little introduction again to me. I am Julia, and I went to UB. I did the BA MBA program, and I have over 10 years working in social media. And so today I want to talk about how we first kind of got to where we are with the internet today. We're going to talk about the power of social media. I'm going to share my 6-point system to allow you to really put together and think about what a social media strategy would look like and what are the most important elements if you're looking to stand out online. And then we're going to wrap it up. So when thinking about the evolution of the web, we have to think about just how far we've come, because it started with Web 1, which was really read only. And then it went into Web 2, which was more participatory. And then now we're in Web 3. And Web 1 was like Google. It was search engines. It was the ability to type something in and get a result. Web 2 was the emergence of social media. We were able to start having conversations. And it was a two-way communication. Sorry, I just heard someone talk. Do you guys?
No.
Is ever?
No, we're good.
You're good.
Oh, you're muted. You're muted. You're muted.
Thanks so much. Okay, so Web 2, we got into two-way communication, and that was social media. And now we're in Web 3, and this is like a decentralized version of the web. And it's all about creating exclusive access and experiences. The brands that are doing this right now are the brands that are winning and setting themselves apart. Brands that have really good, smart loyalty programs, brands with exceptional customer service. These are the brands that are creating loyal followings and who are seeing success. And while I don't think Travis Scott is a good human being, he's a really good example of leaning into Web 3 and the possibilities. Because Travis Scott hosted a concert with his digital avatar from the comfort of his home, and over 12 million people attended, and he made over $20 million. There's so much opportunity for brands and individuals to be leaning into what Web 3 can do, the ways that it can connect us to the people who care about us, and really start creating experiences for them that they care about. So now I want to talk about the power of social media, because social media can do so much for us. With social media, we can understand our audience. Like if you want to get to know the people that you want to reach as a business, or even just a person looking to grow a community, taking a look at the things that your audience posts on social media is going to give you a lot of insight. Right? Like so many people, I've seen everyone posting like the Barbie meme. That's an easy way for a brand to jump on top of a trend and something that everyone is kind of talking about and passing around, and make it relevant to them and then be a part of the conversation. So just by seeing what other people are posting, you get an understanding and you get knowledge about your audience. And Yeti is a great example of this. Yeti had discontinued a specific product, and they put out this post. You asked and we listened. Charcoal drinkware is back from the ashes, but this time it's here to stay. So they were listening to their audience and understood that they had a particular product that they discontinued, but their audience was like, wait, no, we loved that. And so they brought it back, and they've seen huge success. Now they have loyal customers who feel really heard because they're like, oh my God, the company cares about our feedback. They brought a product back and the company's making money. So it's a win-win. And social media allows us to show off our personality. I think that Commercial Collection Corp of New York did such a good job at that. They've got a little dog mug here. And it's like that moment when you realize you should have chosen them as your vendor, right? Like infusing personality into your content is a great way to stand out. And social media lets us connect to our customers. And Coco Kind is a skincare brand that does an exceptional job at this. They've been doing this for years. They use a lot of user-generated content, and they showcase their customers in their feed all over social media. They let their customers essentially do some of the work for them. And all brands know by now that user-generated content is successful and powerful. 84% of consumers say that they trust peer recommendations above all other sources of advertising. 79% of people say that UGC highly impacts their purchase decision. It's like you're 10 times more likely to be influenced with this kind of content. A lot of millennials, 70% contribute to UGC. The stats are all there that show that user-generated content is important. And this is a necessary part of any brand's social media strategy. Any business that is not taking the content already being posted about them from their loyal audience and using it, engaging with it, using it for information, using it for content, using it for talking points. These are all things that brands can be doing for free. The only cost is time, and they can really start to stand out. And social media lets us collaborate with partners. And Rachel Goodeats is a great example of this. She creates this cookie skillet, and she's a Seattle-based food blogger. And basically what happened was she collaborated with a Seattle-based ice cream shop, and they used her cookie and their ice cream for ice cream sandwich day. And she posted about it online, she made stories and let her audience know. And when this ice cream shop opened on ice cream sandwich day, there were lines of hundreds of people wrapped around blocks to get their hands on this product, because this particular woman has a following and she has established trust. And lastly, social media really lets us to grow brand awareness. And Siete Foods is a great brand that understands this. When this brand launched into the market, they knew they were new and they had a lot of competition. They make tortillas, wraps, chips. So what they did was they sent boxes of their product to food influencers like Rachel, the girl I just showed you. And I saw Rachel post about Siete on her stories, and she was like, you guys, these are the best tortillas. And I trust Rachel. I don't even know her, but I trust her. She has been showing up online for years, consistently posting the same kind of stuff. And as a result, I now trust her and her recommendations. And so she was like, you guys need to try these tortillas. And so I literally took myself to Whole Foods and got the tortillas, and they're not cheap either. But I was like, well, if Rachel says they're the best, and I'll be honest, I think they're the best. I don't buy them every time because I can't afford that price bracket every single time, but they're really, really good. And this brand understood that by getting their product in the hands of big food influencers that a lot of people trust, they were going to grow brand awareness so much faster and like more fast and cheaper than if they were to try and take out a whole bunch of paid ads on social media. But the reality is there's a downside of social media, and a lot of people don't talk about it. Because the reality is on social media, people are showing off their best. And you guys as students know this because you guys grew up with social media more than I did. You know that people are showing off their best photos, their best shots from vacation, the best food that they've eaten. Most people aren't taking videos of themselves crying like I do. And as a result, social media creates a lot of comparison. It makes people feel like they're not pretty enough. Spending too much time on Instagram will make people feel like they're not successful enough or wealthy enough or have a nice enough home. And at the core, sometimes just social media makes people feel like they are not enough. And people really, really feed into the vanity metrics. How many likes did my post get? Right? How many comments did this get? And businesses do that too. Businesses are like, how many likes did that get? How many comments? We overemphasize the vanity metrics. But the reality is Instagram started getting rid of likes on their posts, and now you can hide likes. And if you start browsing just the words Instagram or social media, comma, mental health, you will find article after article after article after article talking about the negative ways that social media impacts our mental health. And so we have to understand as users of these tools that we need to try to protect our own mental health and do what we can to really make sure that we're not falling victim to comparison, that we're not falling victim to overemphasizing ROI. This is especially true for business owners. Business owners say to me when I work with businesses, what's the ROI? I want to know exactly how much money we're going to make from social media. But the thing is, social media is about building relationships. And we would never think about relationships in some financial term. And we need to stop thinking about social media directly impacting the bottom line, because the brands that are more focused on showing up and providing value or being entertaining or inspiring, those are actually the brands that are impacting the bottom line the most, but it's because they're not trying to so hard. And the other thing about social media, which is a downside, is that it's very time consuming because there's a lot to do. If you want to be successful on social media in today's world, you need to be making a strategic plan. You need to write content. You need to make videos, create and design graphics, monitor hashtags. You need to answer questions on your posts. You need to engage with your community on their posts. You always need to be coming up with new ideas. You need to analyze the post performance, and you need to be creating reports. And there are even more things that I could think of. Just today, I hosted a live show for the agency Now Marketing Group that I work at. So add hosting live shows onto there. Like, there's endless things that you're doing. And that means that you need different skills to be able to do these things. You need strategic thinking skills. You need strong writing skills. You need charisma if you're going to host a live show. You need editing skills if you're going to be editing videos. You need to know how to graphic design. If you're monitoring hashtags, you need to be adaptable. Heck, if you're just working in social media, it doesn't matter if you're monitoring hashtags, you need to be adaptable. You need to be fast moving and nimble. You need to really know the brand if you are speaking on behalf of a brand. So that takes a lot of time to get to know a brand and their language and tone of voice, which we'll get into in a little bit. You need to be engaging with the community. So that means you need to be reliable, thoughtful, friendly. You need to be creative, analytical, forward-thinking, and organized. It is a lot, which is why so many companies have entire teams devoted to social media, because there is no way that one person can do all these things. At least not at once, at least not well at once. But the upside of social media for businesses, for us as individuals, it's extremely cost effective, and there are endless opportunities for what you can do. You don't have to make a video of you crying, but you can make a video of you potting your plants, or sharing tips about something you know, or showing people behind the scenes of a project that you're working on. And that's humanizing, and it's valuable, and it's inviting. And the cool thing about social media is you're the driver. You get to decide what you want to share, how you want to share, where you want to share, how often you want to share. You get to decide every single part of that, especially if you're just working to build your personal brand. I get to decide what I post, where I post, when I post, how often I post. I am the driver of that. And it's really fun because I get to be super creative. I've made videos talking about insights that I've gotten after having a panic attack. And by doing that, I've really seen that people care about personality. People care about people just doing things differently, right? I got so many comments on that video and a lot of people reaching out to me. And if you guys don't follow Scrub Daddy on TikTok, you absolutely need to. 2.4 million people follow them. They make sponges, you guys. That's not like a very exciting or sexy thing. But 2.4 million people follow them because they have such a wild personality on TikTok. Scrub Daddy and Duolingo are like unhinged brands on TikTok. They do things that sometimes I watch and I'm like, I cannot believe that someone approved that. It feels like illegal for a brand to post some of the content that they post, but that's why they have the following that they do. And I swear, if you were to go onto Twitter and be like, what's the best sponge brand, which is a really weird question to ask in the first place, I guarantee you, you would have strangers crawling out of the woodworks being like, Scrub Daddy, Scrub Daddy. Granted, they make a good product, but it is way more their loyal community, the people that back them to strangers, recommend them to strangers. It's because of the brand's personality, so much more than it is about the product. And the upside of social media is it's extremely humanizing. Brands can humanize themselves and we can humanize ourselves, and we can build relationships as a result. Brian Fanzo has been a mentor of mine. He's a public speaker. He has spoken all around the world. He has over 20,000 followers across, on TikTok, I think he has something like maybe like 200,000 followers. I don't know. He has a very big audience. He's iSocial fans online. And him and I first met online. We met on Twitter, I think in like 2016 or something like that, and would just like tweet each other sometimes, respond to each other's stuff. Then we ended up both being really big on Instagram and like spending a lot of time there. So we would talk on Instagram. Then we ended up exchanging phone numbers, building a real friendship. And we finally met in person in 2019, which is the picture of us when he's got the backwards cap. And then we were both at Social Media Marketing World 2020. And we were there together. And that's that second photo there. And when we were there in 2020, he was like, do you know Jessica Phillips? And I was like, no, I don't know Jessica Phillips. And he was like, oh my God, you guys would love each other. I need to introduce you. And Jessica Phillips owns Now Marketing Group. And I ended up getting a job at Now Marketing Group that I didn't even apply for because of the relationship that I built with Jessica. Jessica called me in August of 2020, and she was like, I have a role that you would be perfect for. And that's how I ended up joining the team, because what works on social works in real life. Quality matters so much more than quantity. The quality of the person you are matters so much more. Like the quality of your followers matters so much more than the number of them. The quality of the friends you have matters so much more than the quantity, than just the number of friends you have. I'd rather have 3 ride or die great friends than 30 fair weather friends who aren't there for me if I give them a call. Focusing on the quality of your content is going to be way more important than just making sure you post a whole bunch of stuff. Quality is what drives it, and humanity. And I've seen that firsthand because I got our little company, Now Marketing Group, a 14-person company, on the Inc. Best Workplaces list for 2022. That is not an easy thing to do. But I filled out the application and I talked a lot about our heart and our humanity. And I showed examples of how we showcase both of those in what we do, because that's my job as the brand manager. And I got us on this extremely competitive list. So now we're going to break it down and talk about how you guys can do that. And I'm going to share my human system with you, which is my 6-point system that I have taught at this point hundreds of people how to implement so that they can cut through the clutter online. And I'm an acronym girl. So here it is, and we're going to go through each step. So it starts with having a plan, because you have to have a plan in order to get where you want to go. So there's a lot you need to think about when you're putting together this plan. You need to think about your target audience. Who do you want to reach? Who is your ideal customer? Because once you know that, you can figure out how you're going to talk to them. Because if you don't know who you're talking to, there's no way to establish an effective tone of voice that's going to reach that customer. And then you can figure out the tools and the resources you're using, because there are so many tools out there to use as social media marketing, like as people that are in this industry. And especially now with the emergence of AI, there's so many tools and resources that we can tap into. Some of them are free, some of them are paid, some of them have more benefits than others. But it is so important for us to know what tools are available so that we can use them and help us save time and be more effective in our jobs. We also have to think about how to create buy-in from our team. If you're doing social media, especially if you're doing it like for a brand, you're going to be asking your team to be like sending photos or sending things that you can then be using in your social media, because no one wants to see like stock photos from a brand. We want to see real people doing real things. That's what works on social media. So you're going to need participation. And as a business, you need to plan for how you're going to get that participation, because I can promise you what businesses do and fail every single time is they fail to get the buy-in from their team. They fail to get their team excited about social media. So then what happens is you're just in a meeting and your boss is like, hey, I need you to take a few pictures of this. And now it just seems like an extra thing added onto your plate. But if your boss were to say, hey, we've decided we want to be more human on social media as a business. So we want to start showcasing you at home in real time doing your job. We want you to be featured on our company page. And if you have any ideas for how you want to contribute, we would love to hear them. And we were thinking one of the things that we could do is maybe get some pictures of you at home doing your job, if you're willing to take that. The difference in the response you're going to get from that employee, it's the same exact ask. Essentially, you're asking them to do the exact same thing, but it is going to be a night and day difference. Because the first one, that person just feels like now they have another thing to do, whereas the second one, they feel empowered and excited to be a part of what the company is doing. You also have to plan ahead for the calls to action, because you need to make sure that you're asking people to do things on social media. If you want to have an effective presentation, if you want to have an effective campaign, anything, you have to know what the ask is, right? So my ask of each and every single one of you watching this, as a result of me giving my time and sharing my expertise, my ask is for you to go to Instagram and hit the follow button. My handle's right in the bottom right corner of every single slide. It's super easy for you guys to do. And as businesses, we have to know, what do we want people to do? Do you want people to go to your website? Do you want people to send you a message? Do you want them to subscribe to your YouTube channel? So, and then once you know that, you got to spell it out in your post. It is as simple as that. It is as simple as asking people what you want them to do. Every single time I speak, I let people know that I'd like them to follow me on Instagram, and I guarantee you, like I promise I can show you screenshots. Every single time after I speak, I get a few new followers because people like doing things for other people. And if you make it simple for someone, there are going to be people that do it. And lastly, the thing you have to plan ahead for is, how are you going to measure success? What data are you going to look like? And what does success look like? So I told you guys I host my agency's live show. So I plan ahead. I made a Google Doc. When I was on episode 8 for the live show, I was already making Google Docs down to episode 21. Today, we just had episode 19. But I have been planning for episodes 20, 21, and 22 for months already, because the planning part is essential for things to go off successfully. So next, you need to understand your special sauce. And this really means what makes you you, what sets you apart, and what makes you different. Because that is why people ask you to work with them. Anyone could come in and talk to you guys about social media. That's the reality. You guys could Google a million different things and find tips on Twitter or tips on strategy. But the reason why I get asked to come in and speak for businesses is because I bring energy. That's the thing that sets me apart. And I've seen it time after time. I used to host a live show every single Wednesday morning, and I did it for more than 5 years. And every single time I had people commenting on my energy, people being like, thank you. I feel like I can fly. I love your energy. It's infectious, time and time again. People were remarking on that way more than they were saying like, oh my God, that Facebook tip is amazing. And so I realized, okay, I guess it's my energy that sets me apart. And for my team at Now Marketing Group, it's the way that we speak to each other and encourage each other. We give each other shout outs in this little internal tool that we use called Bucket List. And we're constantly thanking each other and making sure that the other teammates feel recognized. And this is a great post by a local business showing their team, being like, we had a great night, right? That's what makes them different, is their team and the people who do the work. So why not show it? Because it's not about the platform. It's so much more about your personality. So next, you need to make a commitment to showing up, because that's what it's all about on social media. And so what that looks like is you need to first commit to being yourself. You have to be yourself. So often I speak to students and they say like, I want to be the next Gary Vee, or I want to be the next Alex Earl, or insert someone. But the reality is that person already exists. And if you're going to try to be that next anyone, you're not going to be successful. You need to be you. And again, I realized that with my live show. Someone said, you always have great tips no matter the subject. Someone's like, thank you. I'm definitely going to subscribe to you now. Someone else on a different week. I love your broadcasts. And then my friend Chris was like, we adore you because you're Miss Wednesday, right? Like I showed up every single Wednesday and did a live video. And by showing up consistently, I was able to grow a community of people who showed up every single week. And by just me showing up as myself, I've been able to have the opportunity to get paid by Canyon Bakehouse, right? I've got buns over my eyes. Like I'm just showing up as me. And they were like, we love this. We love that you always infuse your personality into your content. That's why we love working with you. So next, you also need to make sure to engage often. Like you have to be social on social media. Because consistency plus value is going to be how you create a community. It's not going to be enough to just show up and just post a lot. That's not going to be what drives a community. You have to be posting consistently, but also be providing a lot of value. And that's going to be why people decide to follow you. So the next step is all about asking questions to involve your audience. You want to bring them in and make them a part of what you're doing, because that's going to help to drive engagement. It's going to make your audience feel more interested in you. It's going to make them feel seen. So we started testing around at Now Marketing Group. And I was like, you know what? What if I just started asking questions, making it super simple? There's literally no easier content to create than something like this. This took me no time other than the time to type it. I simply said, if you had to get rid of every social media channel and you could only pick one, which one would you keep? I was like, I bet a few people will chime in. We only got 2 likes, not a big deal. But we had 20 comments. 20 people were like, I want to share my opinion on this question. So often businesses overthink it, right? But sometimes we can just make it simple. Just ask a question. Your audience, AKA all people, like being asked their opinion. People like to share. So make it easy for them to do so. Ask simple questions. Next, you need to commit to never stopping learning. You have to be a lifelong learner if you're going to work in social media, because the rate that things evolve and change is dramatic. Just over the last 2 weeks, there's been, Twitter is like the Wild West right now, but there's been so much that has happened recently. On Twitter now, you can, on Twitter, on Meta, and on Instagram, you can now pay to be verified. You can just pay a set amount of money and you can get that blue check mark if you really want it. And what a lot of people are saying in the industry is the value now of the blue check mark is going away. This thing that used to be coveted, that we all used to work so hard for, is literally losing its value. And if you would have told social media marketers or people that work in social media for businesses, if you would have told us that the blue check mark was going to not necessarily be a big deal in a set amount of time, we all would have been like, no, that's not true. But things are constantly evolving and changing. And so you need to make sure to be keeping your finger on the pulse. You need to be someone who loves to learn and who isn't afraid of a rapidly changing industry if you do want to work in social media, because I can promise you there is literally never a dull day. Even on the back end of things, Meta loves to keep people on their toes. And so every single time, I feel like every 2 weeks, I go into the back end to do something, to schedule a post or look at some analytics or something like that, pull a report, whatever it is. There's like a button, a fundamental button on Meta that they have like moved to a totally new place or area in the back end. Like things are just constantly changing. So you have to constantly learn. And you have to constantly learn why people are following you and engaging with you, because that's going to make you a better creator. Right? So I started to really figure out, why does my audience follow me? Because at first I thought people followed me for the social media tips that I shared. And that was all that I shared for years. Until 2018, I started kind of experimenting a little bit and starting to share a little bit more about my personal life, pulling the curtain back more, sharing more about mindset, anxiety, mental health, fitness, motivation, discipline. And I started listening to my audience, and I was seeing messages, people being like, I'm back for the positive attitude you bring. People saying, I'm having so much more fun on Instagram, trying to be genuine. I'm so glad you shared a better way to show up. And then someone being like, honestly, I debated posting this, but you've been so open and sharing your feelings about shame, and I don't want to let shame control my life. I also never stop learning, like literally getting certifications, taking advantage of free courses. LinkedIn has an entire academy that is free and available for like literally anyone. And you can take all of these different classes, learn so much. I mean, YouTube is an entire beast where you can learn essentially anything you want. You can find video after video. So you need to be constantly learning and constantly diving into the data, like learning what is working and what's not working. We've been refining our strategy at Now Marketing Group, especially over the new year. Like we were like, let's enter 2023. We'll tweak the strategy a little bit. And I was like, okay, let's see how it's working. So I went in at the end of January and I was like, let's see how things are going. And we were up on every metric across the board. We had grown our Facebook page reach by nearly 320% in the month. We grew over 100% with our Instagram profile visits. And when you look at data and you see all of the metrics are up, you know that you're doing something that's working. It's as simple as that. The data doesn't lie. And sometimes you have really good creative ideas and then you look at the data and it didn't work. And that's the fun part about being a marketer, is you remove your ego from the process and you don't get caught up in really being invested in the success of one idea. And you recognize that every single post and or campaign is an opportunity to try something different and learn as you go. So the last step of the process is to shine a light on the connections. And so that's something that I started to do when I joined Now Marketing Group. One of the things that I did was I made sure to start featuring our team, shine a light on them. So for our team birthdays and for the anniversaries, the work anniversaries for our teammates, I would have my other teammates send me a little video sharing a message for that teammate. So that meant that each year, each teammate got 2 custom-made videos for them, celebrating really significant milestones or moments in their life. And while these videos didn't get a ton of views or a ton of comments, we got a ton of private messages as a result of the videos. We had family members of the teammates messaging us and saying, wow, I love this video. This is so sweet. We had comments because our employees then would share the video. And on their page, it would do so well. It would get a whole bunch of comments, people being like, oh my God, this is so sweet to see. Sometimes our clients would send us messages being like, I love working with Kara. It's so cool to see all the rest of the team acknowledge her hard work. And so by shining a light on your team and shining a light on you, on what makes you human. Jara Bean is one of my favorite creators. And she teaches social media and specifically social media strategy to major businesses like Maybelline, CoverGirl. Like she is a really, really big creator. She has over, I think, 180,000 followers. She teaches specifically for TikTok as well. Like TikTok has hired her to educate different brands that they have specific programs with. And the things that she shares on social media, she talks about social media, of course, because she's a social media educator, but she shares a lot of her dogs, cheese and crackers. She is literally like famous to her loyal audience for armpit farting. There are videos of her armpit farting on stages. And she's such a good example of the fact that like, you don't have to be this polished, buttoned up, stiff person in order to really start showing up online and really building a community. Brands don't need to see this perfect, polished version of you in order to want to hire you to work with them. And so to put it all together, I want to remind everyone that every single social media channel is different. And so it's so important when you're thinking about approaching social media as a business that you really use that knowledge of the different nuances of the features, the functionality, the mindset of the user. All of those things are different on the different channels, right? Like when I go to Instagram, I am looking for something and thinking about something totally different than when I'm on LinkedIn. right? Like, I don't want to see pictures of people's homes or like their Sunday reset routine on LinkedIn. That's not what I'm there for. I'm there to look at jobs. I'm there to see people's career updates. So as a business, you want to be tweaking the content that you're putting out based on the channel that you're publishing it to so that it makes sense for each channel. It's also so important to remember that social media is about building relationships and establishing trust. Whether you are building a personal brand, whether you are working for a business, the focus should be connection with other humans, not sales. Anytime the focus is sales or promoting something, you're going to lose people because no one wants to be sold to, and we do not go to social media to be sold to. So that's so important to remember. And of course, you have to be patient because it takes time. I think so often we see big creators and it's like, oh my God, they got so lucky. They blew up overnight. And granted, luck is definitely a part of it. People do get lucky and they do blow up overnight sometimes. But for the people who have sustained an audience after a viral piece of content, for the people who have continued to grow an audience after viral pieces of content, those are the people who have been putting in the work, and that takes time. The first time I ever did a transition in a video, it was terrible. If someone were to show me that video now, I'd be like, oh my God, that is cringy. That's so bad. It like is not lined up perfectly at all. But I'm so much better now. And now I can teach businesses how to make their transitions better. You have to just be willing to put in the work because it takes time to get good at things and it takes time to learn. And it just takes time to grow on these platforms because they're super saturated and there's a lot of competition. And lastly, just remember to try new things and have fun. Like social media is fun. It's meant to be fun. And so often these platforms can be these platforms that make us feel comparison or make us feel like why would I show up? There are already people doing what I want to do, but I promise you that no one is doing the thing that you want to do in the exact way that you would do it. So there's absolutely space and room for you to have a voice and take up space there. You just have to give yourself permission and get over the mindset hurdles that often come along with doing that. Because at the end of the day, what's going to make you stand out is if you are authentic and real. And Sophie Jaffe is one of my favorite creators. She is very real online. And she has been sharing about the fact that she is actively watching her mother die in front of her. And she wrote this amazing post about how she felt guilt walking into her mom's house empty-handed. And she's like, what's the appropriate gift for a dying mama? Because she's real and authentic, she has a huge audience of people. She does retreats with her husband. They do work with couples about helping couples get closer. She shares her 3 kids online. And this woman has a really loyal, fierce audience of people who love her, who support her, and who buy from her brand of superfoods that she makes. You want to be consistent and familiar because that's going to be how you create a community. And that's exactly what Rachel Good Eats does. She's consistent. Every single week, without fail, I can guarantee that Rachel Good Eats is going to post both a recipe and a workout on her feed. She has been doing this for over 6 years, every single week. She is about to launch a cookbook, which is like already somehow like it's like sold out already. She's got this whole cookbook book tour. She has over 630,000 followers on Instagram. She has her own now line of activewear and it's called a recreation sweat, and it is like resistance bands and a whole suite of things. She has sold out multiple merch drops. Like, she's a very, very successful creator. And a huge reason is because she is consistent. She shows up every single week, posting multiple times a week, providing a lot of value. And that is what has helped her to stand out. And when you're brave and do things differently, you can stand out. And I think that Whitney Simmons does a really good job at that. She is one of the few people that I have ever seen, especially in the fitness world, who speaks openly about her psoriasis. And she has shared that it took her a long time to feel comfortable to show it, especially in the fitness industry where people are literally picking your body apart online all the time. It's one of the industries that people get the most hate and harassment because people can be cruel online, but she's brave. And because of her bravery, she has a huge audience online. She has multiple like product lines with Gymshark. She's extremely successful. And lastly, you want to be inspiring or entertaining. And Duolingo is such a good example of that. They are so entertaining on TikTok. They're so funny. They have such a wild personality, and it's why they have a huge audience. So it's so important whether you're an individual or whether you're working for a business and doing social media, you have to remember that your fans genuinely want to hear your story. You just have to be willing to share it. So thank you guys so much for having me. And if any of you guys have questions, I'm here to answer them, and or you can always feel free to connect with me online. I am jbethjs literally everywhere on social. So if you want to find me, you can easily find me there.
I don't want to take up time. And you go ahead. Okay. Hi, Julia.
Hi.
I don't want to like overwhelm you with a list, but okay. So I have a question. You first of all, you talk about how like companies have teams. It's a lot to manage on your own, but I see that you have so many social media platforms. How do you manage it?
Well, I like to like kind of batch my content, I will say. So like I will, if I'm going to go through the effort of like doing my hair and my makeup and I'm going to make some videos, I'm going to make some videos. So I'll spend maybe 2 hours or so making videos. And again, it's like I'll film a lot of stuff in my camera roll. And so then I can turn that into an Instagram reel. I can make that into a TikTok, and I can make that into a YouTube short. I would say that like Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok are my 3 biggest social channels. Like I have a presence on Twitter, and I have a presence on Facebook, and I'm on LinkedIn, and I'm on Pinterest, but I'll be honest, I like hardly touch those. And I think that that's the reality for whether you are an individual or a business, is you're on all the platforms, like you have your presence there, but where you spend the most time is very specific to what makes sense for your business. So I'm a public speaker. I do a lot of video stuff. It's what I like doing. It's what I'm good at doing. And so I've leaned into the platforms that are heavy in video because that is what I want to offer people. So if I were like super into long form content creation, which I do love writing blogs, I do a lot of that for my day job, I would maybe be more focused on like LinkedIn or a platform where I'm doing more writing and then like showcasing more of that.
I have another question.
Yeah.
What are some tools that you utilize to help you be successful on social media?
So I'll share 2 tools, one from a business standpoint, one from a personal standpoint. So and I'll share 2 from a personal standpoint. From the business standpoint, I love the tool AgoraPulse. They're an amazing social media managing tool. You can schedule content there, you can manage engagement, you can do social listening, you can do reporting. So in terms of like doing social media for a client and or for doing it like especially at a marketing agency, that tool is built for marketing agencies. It's perfect. It lets you really save time and get to do so many different parts of the job. From a personal side, I love CapCut. It is my favorite video editor. I think it's super easy to use, super user-friendly. And so I love using CapCut for a lot of my video editing. I will say, as silly as this might sound to you guys, I'm like a big proponent of just using the Notes app. Like I will pull mine up just to show you guys. Firstly, I have like a different note for everything. I'm wildly organized and weird like that. But I literally just have a content calendar here. You guys can see it says IG, Instagram schedule. And dating back to, I mean, literally this, I've been doing it this way and I'll just end up deleting them, but I just haven't deleted stuff so that I can use it as an example to show people in instances like this. So dating back to now August, I have every single piece of content that I'm planning to post on Instagram. So like tomorrow, I'm posting a carousel of photos to Instagram, and it's going to be a few photos from this trip that I took to Florida in February that I have photos left that I never posted. And so I already know what I'm posting from now until April 19th. I don't know what I'm posting yet on April 19th. Haven't gotten there yet in planning out my stuff, but I literally just used the Notes app in my phone for free to plan my content ahead of time. Because if anyone, business brand, like for myself, for Now Marketing Group, if I were trying to think of fresh content every single day on the spot, my content would suck. So what you have to do is you have to realize like, oh, you know what? I'm feeling really creative today. I'm in the mood to write, and you write. So I do that personally. If I'm like, I will get into these moods where I'm like, ooh, I'm like thinking about a few different things that I totally want to turn into posts. And I will just sit on the couch. Sometimes my boyfriend and I are sitting on the couch watching a show, and I'm just on my phone, and will kind of look over my shoulder, and he knows I'm like in the zone and I'm just writing stuff. And I'm writing captions for different posts, and I'll knock out like 7 different captions. And then later I'll figure out what are the photos that I'm going to pair with the caption. And so I do that also for my day job at Now Marketing Group. Is if I'm in the mood to write, I will write. I have some days where I will just be in the mood to write long form content, and I will do all the blog writing. And there have been days where I have written 3 different blogs in one day. And we put out 1 blog every week. So that means I literally did 3 weeks of work in one sitting. And obviously then I still have to like put them into HubSpot and edit them and photos and all of that stuff. But I was in the mood to write. And so I wrote that whole day and got a lot of content done. So I'm just a big believer in kind of setting aside chunks of time to do specific focused work.
You guys have questions before I hog them all.
No, go ahead.
Okay. We're fighting to get questions.
Hi, Julia. It was a beautiful presentation, honestly. And
Thank you.
we love your energy. And yeah, so honestly, my question to you is, so you do speak about being authentic while presenting your brand. And I see you being the face of the brand itself. You carry the brand yourself. Now, are there instances somewhere wherein you want to draw the line wherein you don't want some parts of your personal life not being out there? Or do you feel like this, I don't want people to know, or this part of my authenticity is something which I want to keep to myself? Do you have dilemmas like that?
Yes, and that's a great question that you ask, and I'll share like a really good personal example of that. So in 2018, or really at the end of 2017, I had been dating someone for 6.5 years, and we were engaged to be married. And at that time, he was like all over my social media, because we would be going to the grocery store and I'd make little Insta stories. So people, like my online community, knew who he was, especially because I'd been dating this person for 6.5 years. And I was planning a wedding. And so I was like sharing some of the stuff about that. And then I decided to call it off, and we ended our relationship. And I realized I was at this kind of crossroads where I could like try and just kind of pretend that nothing happened and not talk about it at all, or I could let my audience in and let them know that I was going through something and that they were going to see me moving, and that they weren't going to see this person who they had become really used to seeing. They weren't going to see this person anymore. And so where I drew that line was I let my audience know that I was going through a heartbreak, and that I was feeling really sad, that I was feeling overwhelmed because I was making a major move. I was moving in. I'd been living with him for a number of years. Like I was moving into my own apartment and was just rebuilding really my life. And so I felt really overwhelmed, and I let my audience know that. And I told them that I was sad and overwhelmed, and it was a big transition, and that I was going to be taking them along in the journey, and that it's okay to have life transitions and to feel like you're starting over. I didn't tell them any of the nitty gritty. They knew nothing about why we broke up. because that to me was not professional and it was none of their business.
Yes.
And I didn't see anywhere where there was value. I was like, how if I were to share those details, how would that even benefit someone, right? So I think where I draw the line is if I have a story that I can share and it's personal and I think it can help someone and benefit someone, I'm going to share. And I'm okay with crying. I'm okay with pulling those curtains back and kind of sharing those personal things if I think it can help someone. But if there's not a purpose or how that detail helps someone, I'm not going to share it, because then all I'm doing is actually creating discomfort for my audience. And I believe smart creators just provide value and they don't overshare and create discomfort.
That's a very nice answer. Thank you so much for sharing.
Of course.
All right. Hi, my name
Hi.
I just had a question related to basically technical skills.
Yeah.
Oddly enough, I'm majoring in business administration and I hope to do the 3-2 program.
Good for you. For real. Please don't hesitate to follow me. Like, ask me questions. I was such a nerd and I like did everything and anything to make sure I got into that program. So I am happy to help a fellow 3-2.
Of course. And basically, being in the entrepreneurship field, one of the things that I'm trying to do is build on my technical skills. So like in social media, what technical skills did you say might have been priority and also maybe like the more difficult to build on?
Oh, that's a great question. I'd say the first technical skill is like writing. And I know that that's a really broad skill, but it's like writing in a few different ways. Because social media, a lot of times when you're working in digital marketing, I mean, it obviously depends per company, but like a lot of times you're going to be in a role, especially I feel like when you're kind of starting out, you're going to be in a role where you're kind of like the jack of all trades. So it's like you might be writing for social media, but you also might be doing some blog writing. You also might be doing some email marketing writing. And so you might even be doing some writing for like a pamphlet or a promotional thing. So having a strong, like being able to be a good writer is really important, but that looks different depending on what you're writing. So starting to get familiar, like honestly, the more that you read, the better writer you're going to be. The more that you spend time scrolling Instagram and looking at the writing and the copy for the ads that you see and the images that they used, you're going to become a better writer. And so learning about like what is good writing for an ad versus for a post versus for a reel, all of those things are different. So I would say developing your writing skills is definitely a smart technical skill, as well as analytical skills, because there's a lot of insights that you can get through social media, but just looking at a bunch of data isn't really going to tell you something. That's not going to tell a story. And so you have to make sure that like you have the analytical skills to be able to see all this data and be like, okay, so what does this actually mean? Because there are some tools that are like very enhanced smart tools that are able to essentially like take graphs and then spit out some analysis of what that data means. But if you want to set yourself apart, you have that skill yourself and you're able to do that on the job. And especially working for a marketing agency, it's so important to be able to explain to clients like, hey, here's the results that we got. Here's what that means, because that's what the client's paying you for. They could go into the platform and look at the data, but they look at it and they're like, I don't know what to do with this. So I'm paying you to tell me, what does this data mean and what should we do now as a result of seeing this? So definitely your analytical skills as well.
Thank you. And thank you for the presentation as well.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Okay, I have a few more questions.
Okay.
So, you said, never stop learning. Where is maybe a platform or a source of information you go to stay up to date with things that are changing or new things that you should have your thumb on?
Social Media Today. That is like one of my favorite sources for information. I think they provide a really good, like no frills, no bias reporting when it comes to specifically social media information. So if you just Google Social Media Today, I don't know if it's literally socialmediatoday.com, it might be, but that's a really good resource. And
then-
podcasts, honestly, if you just like search like social media as a keyword and like in any like podcast player, you'll find like endless people. And if you have specific people that you're like, is this person good? You can always message me.
Will do. If they're vetted by you, they must be good. Okay, and then you talked about how this year you did a different marketing strategy and overall your numbers were on the up.
Yep.
When you do a different marketing strategy, at what point do you realize something's not working? How long do you keep trying something before you pivot?
That's a great question. Honestly, such a good question. Definitely more than a month. A month is just not enough time. And a month is a standard reporting period for social media. But so often what we constantly will tell our clients, you'll see the data go up and down within a month, like month by month, you'll see these little ups and downs. So I would say looking at like 3 months. 3 months is a good period of time to know whether what you're doing is actually working. And so what's so funny is you asking that question, I just went and was pulling our numbers for Now Marketing Group to be like, okay, we saw that after the first month things were doing. How are things though doing now after 3 months? And while the numbers are not as high as those numbers that I showed in the presentation, those numbers are still up. And what we realized was we needed to be like, there were a number of different things we kind of were doing in our strategy, but a big focus was showcasing our community more and tagging them in anything. Like if we had a photo of a few people, we're going through and tagging as many people as humanly possible. And then maybe in the comments, we're tagging people, or we're asking someone on our team to tag people in the comments, and that creating a ripple effect of awareness was hugely helpful.
And then I have one more question.
Yep.
Well, that's what I said before, but here we are. So I know you focus mainly on social media marketing. Do you have any other like input or information on not social media marketing?
In like, what do you mean? Like, do I have knowledge? Do I kind of have knowledge outside of this particular arena?
Some gems for us, because I know a lot of companies focus right now. I feel like everyone right now is focusing on social media marketing. It's cheap. If done right, it's effective.
Yeah.
I don't know if like, what do you think about like the future of marketing for companies? Is it just social media? Is it not? Is print dead?
So I don't think print is dead, but I think that print needs to be a lot more strategic than it used to be. I think it used to just be like, oh, we'll do a print. Like print's very expensive now. So if you want to use print, you need to like really think that through as to whether or not that makes sense. But what I would say honestly is like, yeah, I feel like SEO is really, really important as well. So like if you're a social media marketer that has an SEO knowledge, which I happen to have because just being in the industry and working in small companies, it's been out of necessity that I've kind of needed to learn SEO. And the relationship between SEO and social media is like very, very interesting. Like the way that they play together it's just fascinating. Like you really do need to, like, if you're not making sure that your SEO on your website is really strong, and if you're not putting in the effort to do that and to be even like including strong keywords in your social media bios and about sections, you're just not going to be driving the results that you could. So I just think that that is like really important.
That's all from me. I might DM you later with more questions.
Please do.
I love this. Look, yeah. No. I know we are almost done. Well, we are at time. We're past time. So thank you so much for coming. If we could all do a little.
Thank you guys so much for having me. It was so good to be here.